questions that I need to ask before we can go on this, if that's all right with you. Back in May and June, or I have the June minutes here, where the chief wanted to do repairs on a 2017 Ford. And then I believe there were two vehicles that we talked about doing repairs on. The other one was
Ford Taurus.
the Ford Taurus, yes. I had one that, and we didn't approve that at that time. But since that time, Jody, do either one of y'all have the bill that, we got a bill from the chief for some repairs that were done to those cars, just here recently. So why did we do those when we had already said that we, didn't feel like it was in the best interest to put money into those cars?
We can either walk or we can,
Well, I'm not, I'm just asking the rest of the
I mean, they had to be fixed. You guys approved it, correct?
No, we did not.
An ordinance was passed. An ordinance states that streets have to be fixed, basically fire, they have to fix where they're going, you guys have to get where you're going. So the ordinance was passed, that if it was a necessity,
We got an ordinance in place that if the ordinance, and then there's a line item that the budget has been approved, and there was a line item to necessary repairs of the vehicle. And then that could be approved, and that's why that I approved those to be fixed, because the ordinance gave us permission to do that.
Sam, could you clarify that ordinance a little bit for me, please?
So, I'll answer your question this way. When we had our discussions and such back in,
Excuse me, Sam, can you speak up so the recorder can get it, please?
oh, should I?
Please.
So when we had our discussions back in February, March, thereabouts, what I recall from the discussions and the temperature of the group was, if there are things that are necessary for the day-to-day operations of the city, we need to do them in order for the city to, function A to B to C. I'm going to put some words in Councilwoman Ott's mouth right now, because the first thought that I had came to mind is, if the request is presented and the council says, no, I don't think so, in my mind, that kind of ends it at the end of the day. Otherwise, we're not coming before the group. I go back to what I've said month to month to month to month throughout this year. Questions raised about what we're spending. We want to have a collaborative process about who is spending what, where, and when. I worried back in February when we talked about necessary things for the day-to-day operation, because it just can be potentially a massive hole to drive through. So I don't want to sound like a lawyer here and say that both sides necessarily right, but I will say again, there has to be a discussion. If we come before the council, say, hey, we need to do this, the council says, no, we don't think so, then I think there's real issues than going ahead and authorizing the payment at the end of the day. Now, again, splitting hairs here. If if money's appropriate to do it, well, then money can be spent at the end of the day. But again, as I've said all year, if the folks that are in charge of appropriating cash aren't thrilled with how the cash is being spent, they will deal with it accordingly as budget times come forward. So, long story short, I think every side worked here necessarily in good faith. But again, before we come to the group, ask for the group to pay for something, the group says no, then that ought to end. At the end of the day, that ought to end. So going forward, we just gotta have an understanding. Mayor, I'll share this. If, Chief Spence comes up and says, hey, we're gonna have these, we need these repairs, we're gonna, council votes down, I think Chief Spence at the time said, all right, well, we'll manage. That's fine. That's what I recall. May not be, that's just what I recall. So, I would submit that going forward, if something like this happens, at least during the calendar year of 25, let the council know, say, hey, this is why we're doing this. We have 2 cars that are down, we have A, B, C, and D. Let the council know. They don't necessarily have to agree with it, but we get away from a situation where council cannot, ask the question, and I say, hey, didn't we do this 3 months ago? I think that communication can be helpful going forward.
Which is what we have asked for the past 3 or 4 months, to let us know
Prior to,
that hasn't been getting done at all.
the ordinance right here states that anything over $500 needs council approval. To this, now, we've talked about the day-to-day, the light bill, all of that, the bill that JL has is $600 some odd a month, that, is every month. We've discussed that. To this day, I have not one time, and we've asked for POs, all we're asking for is a purchase order with all the information on it. Give us a call, say, stop by, initial it, we're good. To this day, not one time have I been asked to come down and sign a PO.
If I can interject
So,
just a second.
absolutely, Sam. I mean, that's where, we're just as blind in this as anyone else is, and we're just trying to do the best that we can do with the city's money.
So the $500 issue got off to a bad start. Councilman Howard had shared with me I was wrong in a particular area. With regard to, it's not an approval sort of thing that the council approves that. It's the notice
No,
issue.
the knowledge of it, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And, we can go back and I can name probably 10 different things that have gone on since we've put the spending ordinance in effect. And it's just like, well, it's like the council doesn't matter. And all we're trying to do is to keep this city financially in some sort of realm of, positivity, if that makes any sense at all. And, I just think that there's a lot of things that, are being done, that are being paid for, that we have no idea of, and then when you come, when you want to spend, I realize that y'all have that money in your depreciation account, Dusty. I understand that. I see the financials. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate the work that it takes to do a grant. But when I have people daily call me and say, why do we have 3 police cars? I know, you and I have talked about this on our own.
So is your answer no to this grant?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to get clarification on, we fixed 2 cars, okay? So what are we gonna do with those 2 cars?
We're gonna keep them.
How many cars?
Cars
do we
go
have?
down.
How many
I'm
cars?
sorry.
How many cars do we have running currently?
We have 4 Durangos. 8, I think, 8.
How many police officers do we have currently each in a car?
7.
So, and we are still paying on the Durangos, right?
Yeah, for another year, I think.
How much is owed on those? Is it like?
I don't have that information from,
I do.
54 something. I
$54,000.
think it's like 54 something.
Yeah, it's right at 54,000. Is that for 2 or is that
that's
for 3? How much do we have in the depreciation fund?
$25,276.40.
Sheets.
We have 2 white stores
Yes,
and then 1 Ford car,
correct.
and then the Lions car, SRO.
Yes.
This is
So that's,
everything else.
that's 10.
No, we have to pick
So
up.
10 vehicles. 4 gray Durangos, 2 trucks is 6, 1 SRO is 7, 2 stores, 9, 1 Ford car, 10.
Does the school pay for Lonnie's car or are we responsible for the car?
We're responsible for that.
And the maintenance and all, and the gas? So we totally take care of the vehicle for the SRO, correct?
We do.
So I don't know why I thought that was part of the deal. So who
Just
is
his
driving this car? Who's this car going to?
I don't know yet. It'd probably go to Matthews, I would assume, Justin Matthews.
Is he full-time or part-time? He's full-time. And when does this have to be submitted, since we're just getting it tonight? When does this have to be, when you have to have a approval for this, since we're just seeing it?
As soon as possible. I think time is of the essence with
And
the federal money.
And it just got approved, and with the USDA, like rules and regulations, we weren't allowed to say anything, basically, until almost, what, a day or 2 ago. But they're extremely strict, we weren't allowed to say anything, and it literally just went through, like,
To your city council, you weren't allowed to say
no, you're not, no, it's not allowed to be public whatsoever. They gave you strict instruction on that.
yes, we got an email on it. We got an email from, Chief Spence about it. No, I believe he called me at home and told me about the grant, like last Thursday or Friday. We got an email on the work that was done on the other vehicles from him.
Are all vehicles running at this point, at this time?
At the moment,
Do you know how many miles the Durangos have, basically, or approximately? I mean, are they getting to the end of their lifespan before we pay them off, or are they kind of still in good shape?
I mean, right now, I think they're in decent shape.
Well, they're only, what, 3 years old, 2, 3 years old,
2 or 3 years old.
3 years old? Well, I've got 160,000 on mine, it's 13 years old. So with the Durango's been a good one. Can the depreciation fund be used to pay off or pay down debt on the other Durangos?
I believe it can.
If it can be used to pay for partial purchase of one, I was just wondering if there's,
Like to pay down the balance of that 54.
yeah, I mean, I hate to see the fact that we've got 54,000 in debt on Durangos that are, 3 years old. I realize it's 3, but, I'm concerned about, I realize we're not gonna have any debt on this supposedly, correct?
Correct.
On this,
Well, we're gonna be out $14,000.
well, yeah, so,
Hey, Sam, a depreciation account, are they set up in mind to repair and maintain things? Or purchase equipment? I mean,
what is the criteria for using that?
something that makes sure that they're, keeps them straight with the auditor.
So off the top of my head, I don't know. Logic would say if there's money related to a vehicle, we could use it for nearly any purpose. It's not like you would take that money and use it for equipment, things, as far as wearable equipment. So if it's tied to the vehicle, I would think logic would say that would work. But certainly not for sure. But I don't know of anything that would restrict that to. Logic would say it would be related to vehicle-related
Right.
stuff.
Right.
I think that would be appropriate there.
Well, I think, like I said, that's my biggest issue. I mean, I don't have a problem with, getting a grant and that, but when we've still got that much debt, I just feel like we need to look at how we can decrease that amount in some shape, form, or fashion. I just think that would be fiscally more, sound. You said there's 25 in there, right, Dustin?
Correct, yes.
What is, there's not hardly any money in it, what is the police registration and equipment fund? What's the difference in that, just the depreciation fund?
The registration.
Yeah,
fund.
we've got a bank account that has police registration and equipment fund. It only has $800 in it, but what is that, why is that different from
They have $810.30, I think.
$810.30,
I
yes?
think it's changed 1 cent since I've been here. So
Since
that's
I
been,
started doing it.
I'm just curious as to what,
I can't sit here and tell you because I really don't know.
okay,
there's not ever exactly.
We'd have to look into that.
okay.
On the repairs on the other cars, has that money come out of the depreciation fund? Is that how those are getting paid?
No, it comes out of our general fund. We have a line item for it on our budget.
Yeah, that Durango loan is 56,000, I think, is what it, 56,000.
I think the payment was just made.
What, up to?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I believe it's like 2,000 something, so I wanna say last I checked, don't quote me, but I think.
No, this
it's
is just from
54.
Friday, last Friday.
I think it's like, I could be wrong, but I think it's the 54 something now. But don't quote me.
Can we sell any of the vehicles that we have that you say are not? I mean, wow, we have 10 vehicles. That means we're paying insurance on 10 vehicles and maintenance and repair, upkeep and everything on 10 vehicles. We don't even have that many police officers. So, and I realize that we need something if something breaks down, but, what are they worth? What could you get out of them?
Depends which one we sell, and I would have to look at the blue book value. I can't tell you.
And this has already been guaranteed. We've gotten the grant, or no?
Only if you approve it.
We've already sent an approval letter.
No?
I think I've said about the ordinance and such, but your question about input on,
Another vehicle, another new vehicle.
oh. So the question was raised by Councilman about how we look at, how we manage our fleet of vehicles. I think that would be wise as we look forward to 2026, that if there are vehicles that we can remove from our inventory, sell, apply to debt, things along those lines would be wise to do so. As to the day-to-day operations, I can't say anything about whether or not another vehicle is needed. I do think there's some value to having a discussion about how many vehicles we need in order to operate the police department.
Well, I think that discussion needs to be made before we decide on this.
Yeah, that's certainly up to you guys, that's how that works.
On what we can do does this have to be done tonight or tomorrow? Every time we turn around and we're put under the gun as far as, making decisions. I think that maybe we need to have some discussion on what we have, what we can get rid of, find out what we can do to, I don't think we need 11 vehicles, that's just my personal opinion, but, which is worth absolutely nothing around here, but, I don't, I think that there should be discussion between the council and the chief and the assistant chief, and, let's, do it soon and all with level, heads and informative, good ideas, and come back to the table in a day or two or three and see what we can come up with. That would be my suggestion. I just don't feel like until we can figure out what we can do to get rid of some vehicles to maybe pay down this debt and figure out, where we need the vehicles. Do we need them here do we need them in the city limits on patrol every day and at night, however many officers you have, during the day on patrol, how many you have at night on patrol? I just, I feel like we need to put all that out. Say, okay, then,
It's not every day that you have 40,000 handed to you with a grant. I believe there's some vehicles that the chief is in consideration. He's in training, or he would be here, him and the investigators in a class. I don't want to answer and overstep him and answer for him, but I think there's a possibility of a couple of vehicles that's been talked about to be able to put up to sale.
Well, then maybe if we had that information, it would be a little easier for us to make a
I
decision.
know, Ms. Hart, but we
So,
have
you
a
know,
grant
That's,
that there,
I understand that, yes, sir, I understand that. And I don't want to see $40,000 go down the tubes either.
well,
The 2013 Explorer, we plan on getting rid of if we can acquire another vehicle. And then there's a broke down black Explorer that we plan on getting rid of if we can acquire another vehicle.
Well, that's what I have to say, so. Like I said, I can't believe that we can't have a few days to mull this over and, try to figure out what we can do to help on the backside of all of the, the debt too.
all right, council, let me know your pleasure. Form of a motion or something.
Mayor, if I can throw a thought out.
Okay, go ahead.
So, trying to meld the 2 points together. We're to the season of budget discussions and things along those lines. Go along with what Councilman Ott said, perhaps if this information can be provided by the end of the week, the group can meet next week. It'd be a council meeting for purposes of considering this grant, but then also the budget, what we're looking at, budget 2026 could be discussed. So with that in mind, it would, if it's the pleasure of the group, if this is just a suggestion, that the discussion of this be tabled till, we'll set a meeting for next Tuesday. If Chief Spence, Assistant Chief Carter can get, council layout, what information that you want to see. I might be speaking out of turn for Melissa as far as potential of a budget hearing coming up.
No, we're conducting meetings right now with department heads.
Okay,
So that- we're
well,
not gonna have nothing ready by then.
okay. Well, so then it might just be a short council meeting next week to consider this grant.
Well, I would just like I said, for them to, come back and say, we can do, we can sell this, we can do this, we can sell this is the cars we need, this is the patrol that we've got to cover, take care of our town, and, I don't think it's too much to ask. I think it would be a very healthy conversation, or it could be, just throw some ideas out, and like I said, I don't want to see us lose this money either, but I want information, and I want some ideas and, some feedback on how we can work together to try and get some of the debt down and take care of our fleet and our officers the way we need to take care of them. That's my proposal.
You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we come back next Tuesday and have Chief Spence and Assistant Chief Carter here and have them, work on the things that I've talked about, and let's come together at the table and see if we can't pull it all together.
Let me interject. Could you state those things very clearly so
Okay.
Mary Jane can get them down in the
I would
minutes?
like to see the vehicles that they are considering getting rid of. And again, Dustin, you said that, if you went to Kelly Blue Book, I know that that's not in stone, but it's gonna give you an idea of what the vehicles could possibly bring. And that would be, bringing that back to the table, bringing those funds back to your account, your depreciation account. I would like to see how, your patrol is set up to schedule, their schedule, who drives, what vehicles and what we need to get rid of in order to maintain a good fleet of vehicles. And that's what I would like to see next Tuesday at a meeting, so that we can discuss this and get, if we all come together on it, then get you your grant for your $40,000.
Have a motion before us that we will table this tonight, this item of business until next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock with more information coming before us, before this governing body, dealing with vehicles and et cetera. Do I have a second?
Thank you.
Do I have a second? All right. That motion fails. Next on the agenda is financials for June, July, and August.
I have a question. On the fire department fuel, we have a budget of $10,600, and we have spent $10,687. So what are we gonna do for the rest of the months?
We just have to amend the budget, which is typical, I mean.
Why have we spent over $10,000 in fuel for the fire department?
I think we're only $1,000 difference from last year to this year.
So we amended the budget last year because you went over at this point in time?
Last year, well, I was gonna get my financials, we're gonna go down and look at it.
Actually, I don't think we ever amended the budget from last year, because I asked about that the first of the year.
Yeah, I don't think we reconciled last year's budget at all. But I think about this time last year, we were about 9,000, so I think we're about 1,000 higher. But I can go grab that and look at it, tell you for sure.
So when we make calls for Ray Valley and Gary, we don't, and we use their trucks, do we put our fuel, do we pay for the fuel, or do they pay for the?
They think we don't feel we make wrong.
Do we run all of Fairview calls
We
and,
ran
and Flippin's equipment?
4 Fairview calls this month. Yes, one was structure fire, which we were there, some was there, Old Charles was there, and then 3 medicals we went with it.
Is that all Fairview had was 4 calls this month, or August, I guess, August, not September.
Well, I'm sorry, September was for that, yes.
David, you need to speak up so we can get
Okay. Hang on, let me drink. September was full, I apologize. August was 9, and of that 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 were fires that involved multiple agencies.
So are the total calls for the month, are those for everything that you responded to, Fairview and Ray Valley and Flippin?
So, I'm sorry,
Sorry, the total calls for the month that you put on your sheet, are they just for Flippin?
well, anything that Flippin was paid out for.
Anything that they were paged out for is in your total?
So August numbers,
Yeah, I have August numbers, I have those.
was 126. So 11 of those would have been in Ray Valley's, and 9 of them would have been Fairview's. So we assisted one out of the 126, so 19, 20.
Assisted on or just went to assisted on because Ray Valley, and this is a hard question for you to answer since you're the chief walk through. Ray Valley gets a call, you're working for Flippin during the day, you go call dispatch and say, go ahead and page out Flippin.
So most departments you will find during the day are short-handed. Ray Valley's main medical truck was in the shop at Harrison getting in motor in it. So there are people during the day that they did have, which was 1 or 2 people running personal vehicles. So for that month, yeah, they said that Ray Valley got paid out, we haven't paid out Flippin to assist the medical truck. Their truck has since been put back in service. And I'm not sure the month's numbers for Ray Valley this month, I haven't checked yet, but
Does Ray Valley or Fairview reimburse Flippin for all the fuel and the wear and tear on the equipment?
no more so than Sumner, Yellow, or Pyatt, or Ralph Canyon.
I'm not worried about that.
No, I understand, I'm just saying that we don't charge them for fuel when we go there. Now, Ralph Canyon, I think in March or May, I have to look, we went 6, 7 times for Ralph Canyon, but this was brush fires. You know, now, if you would like something in place, I have no problem taking it to the board and asking them if we have a high call month and do we assist them. Tell the fuel, I have no problem with that.
What is your, I guess I could say, what's the city's policy on using, city vehicles as personal vehicles?
I don't know if city's policy is that, looking good.
What's your policy?
We usually don't if we don't, we usually don't. So try not to.
I'm gonna say that's probably part of the reason that our fire bill or our fuel bill is over. Because not only I, but every other citizen in this town, when it comes to me, wants to know why fire truck is at the church or at the Walmart or at any given place during the daytime when there's not a call. And it's been brought to my attention numerous times that by numerous people that these fire trucks are driven for personal use.
So, I believe Brad goes to your church.
I'm sorry?
Brad,
Mm-hmm.
when Brad was on shift on the weekends, he worked Sunday till noon. He was allowed to drive a fire truck to your church because he was still on shift.
And he came in uniform and he was on duty.
Yes, so we went to the church, we do allow that. If they're on shift and they go to Walmart to get dinner or lunch or snack, we do allow that.
But the fire trucks are on the road 24/7.
I apologize. I'll slow it down to we're $1,000 ahead in fuel. Our call volume has went up. Yes, you can say it's something that Ray Valley and Fairview. There was 20 calls of 126. There was most of those agencies and they're out a little bit late. But our call volume has steadily climbed.
How many calls last year did you have? I don't remember. Just
842.
842 last year.
Just Flippin calls, not Ray Valley,
I
Fairview.
would have to separate them back that day. And some of those are Summit, some are Pyatt, some are Rock Canyon. If you would like an actual breakdown, you give me a couple days, I can email that to you. By agency.
Well, I think it would, I don't know that I would be opposed to, if I live in Ray Valley, because I know they pay tax, their bill is on their taxes every year. I know that Fairview takes their dues in, they get their dues in. I can't believe that everyone, you know, we want to help, we want to do the mutual aid, we want to help our neighbors, that's what we're here for. But I don't know that anyone would expect just Flippin to foot the bill for all of the fuel. I mean, you know, that's, I just, you know,
Like I said, if you would like, I will ask them, and I will submit it and see if I can get that approved. I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, I just think that it would be, you know, beneficial to, well, to our bottom line for sure. But I can't believe they would expect us to do it on our dime all the time, you know, and it might be something to visit.
And
I don't know.
I will reach out to Yellow. They go out to Route Canyon a lot because they're short-handed here today, and I'll ask them what they've got in place. Maybe they have something. in place.
Absolutely, you know, check with the other fire department, you know, like I said, we're just trying to figure out a way to make the bottom line a little bit better, you know, that's.
I have a question. Are you combining departments with, because on the call log for July 17th in the notes from the Sheriff's Department, the 911 Center, it says having anyone on duty during the day, and because Flippin Fire Department and Fairview Fire Department will be combined.
We were talking about it, but we never got that. They are
That
like,
was in July of this year.
but we're not.
Who was on that committee to talk about? I mean, was that something you were
We had a
just
public,
discussing?
we had a public at Fairview,
Oh, you did.
yes, about combining the departments.
What would that involve?
Ma'am,
What would that involve to combine those?
so Yellow has what they call Yellow rule. Yellow rule is a board only. They're not an actual fire department, they're a board only. And they collect dues like they do at Fairview, it's membership. And then they pay the city of Yellow for fire protection.
Okay.
And that was the goal that we were gonna try to aim for. So essentially, they would collect dues, they would pay the city of Flippin a percentage for fire protection. And then they would keep a percentage to keep, the lights on the trucks running, maintenance, stuff like that.
That still has to come before the council, right?
Oh, obviously, there's no way, there's like pages of stuff we would have to accomplish before we got that far.
Sam, can I ask a question? Sam? How, what your glasses are on the floor?
No,
Trying to fix
I
them.
may not need them.
You may not need them. If they were to try to combine those, and those are paid by individuals and on their tax bill, and Flippin is a sales tax, how do you combine that? How would the people of Flippin feel about their sales tax being spent out in Fairview and Ray Valley?
So.
Because I know we had a lot of questions back in the day about that.
Are Ray Valley and Fairview, are they on the tax rolls?
It goes on Ray Valley's tax rate.
Ray Valley does, they just pay dues
They
out
just
here
pay dues at Fairview. It's on the tax roll at Fairview.
at Ray Valley.
So I don't know, I could see Fairview and Ray Valley combining, but how do you throw Flippin in there with the sales tax and the city the size we are? We had this discussion many years ago.
It would be a challenge.
That's right.
It would be a challenge.
Any more questions for Chief Hannah? Dealing with financials.
On the, David, on the fireworks, we had approved the 13,500 to begin with for this past year. And then they went over,
A little bit,
like 14,000 something.
yeah, I think
Went over.
13.5, and it's 14 and some change.
Yes.
$14,797.
Yeah, 1479.5.
And where did you take that money from, the difference?
We're gonna have to move it out of the line item when we reconcile our budget. They went up partially because of tariffs.
Well, I know because we talked about purchasing them before that, and that's why we approved it when we did.
Yeah, and if me and Better talked about it, we got it ordered, and then 2 days later, they went up 60%. But that was the best deal we got right there.
And then you said that we were gonna be, this is something from the fire department that you gave us, that, and it says here that, the reimbursement from FEMA during the storms last year, which was May of 2024, correct?
Right.
Of the amount of approximately $11,000 will pay for most of the fireworks.
Right.
So I talked to Jessica the other day about some comp time that was paid, and that was out of that money also, is what you told me.
Yeah, that was a mistake on my part, I apologize.
What,
I had forgotten about our previous fireworks conversation, that was months ago, and I forgot about it.
so what did we do with the 11,000? What did we get, Lacey?
11,163.76.
Right. And 3,730 of that was,
According to the invoice from the county, personnel hourly rate per employee total $3,730.50. Equipment, FEMA cost code rate per apparatus, $7,308.10. Materials, purchase materials for disaster response, $125.16. So does that mean that we were only supposed to pay out $3,700 to wait for wages, and the other should have gone for equipment?
I thought that invoice was seen.
Okay, well, I mean, it was from the county, from the quorum court meeting, when they approved the mutual aid agreement between the county and, between the judge and, the mayor.
When was that?
Well, let's see, the agreement was made May 30th, so 4 days after the tornado the agreement was signed. And then the amount was approved in the quorum court meeting in August of last month.
I wasn't here 24, so.
well, but what I'm asking is, if we're paying for comp time, which Jessica said that some of these firefighters never got paid last year for their comp time.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, we had to get over to this year, yes.
So
So,
there's only 3 firefighters, so there was 3 firefighters that got paid an astronomical amount of
comp
comp
time.
time this
And
last
that was
pay
from the
period.
tornado, correct?
So were those the only 3 firefighters that worked the tornado?
They were paid, they got comp time.
Okay, so the other firefighters have already been, did they get paid last year?
Just the part-time firefighters can't get comp time.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't pay part-time comp.
Well, would they gotten paid after the tornado? Because I can't see.
I wasn't here for 2024 payroll.
David, would they have gotten paid
I
after?
will have to look at the payroll, I believe they were paid last year because they did not.
On their regular pay.
Yeah, they didn't get comp time or overtime because they would be volunteers that were paid
Right.
for that incident.
Yeah.
But I will have to look at the payroll from last year and confirm that. I really don't know.
But I'm just seeing where that 11,000 is being used in different places, and I'm just trying to figure out how we're making that
Yeah,
work.
that was my mistake. I forgot about the fireworks, honestly. I didn't get a chance to pay down our comp time, which was stacked up astronomical.
Yeah, I know, I figured it out.
Yeah, and I was trying to get it down to a reasonable amount, and that was my fault.
Okay. Thank you for that
So
clarification.
is this, would you like a copy of
I would
this?
like a copy of it. I'm not saying that, yes.
Okay, because like I said, we need to go by what this says.
And when was that invoice dated?
Well, the agreement was made, like I said, in May 30th of 24. I know you weren't here, but
Yeah.
that's when it was made between,
Yeah, I mean,
What is the total on that invoice?
it's got Mr. Hogan and Mr. Stomp's signatures here. And then it was actually put into file for record on October 29th by Don Moffett, 2024.
yeah.
So, okay. I got on the fire department again, sorry. I don't see where there is anywhere a $7,000 donation that my business worked really hard along with the chamber and other city, businesses and individuals donated to the fire department. I don't see where that is, it shows anywhere on any financials.
Yeah, it was deposited, I'm not sure why it's not repeated, I don't know.
Well, it was deposited into the auxiliary fund.
It still should show on the financials, and I don't know why it doesn't.
Cause like the Black Hills Energy grant, there's a grant, so I figured that there would be, at least maybe under fireworks donations, there should be a donation there maybe.
So like I said, since it was a donation, it was deposited into the fire auxiliary account. But, I think it was Friday of last week, we actually moved the balance of that auxiliary account to the fire's general account.
How come, cause that auxiliary account,
It won't show up.
Yeah, auxiliary.
It's not
it's
ever
never showed up on the same bank
No,
balance.
not the
So- Why did the auxiliary show up on?
How many other accounts don't show up on here?
It was just the fire auxiliary and the police auxiliary. Typically, auxiliary accounts are not under, how'd you word that?
Under the city.
Yeah, under the city.
Well, then who gives authorization to use that account? Where's that? I can remember back in the day when we had, and we've got one, Becky's back there, Mary Jane here, where we had an auxiliary, and the fire chief would go to the auxiliary and ask for equipment or what have you. They would present a quote of how much it's gonna cost. Is that not correct, Mary Jane?
The fire auxiliary is not the city's. It's just that simple. That was money raised by the auxiliary when they went out and done fundraisers, and that was stuff to provide the fire department and the police department with. That account is not operated or owned by the city, because that's the city
Donation,
money.
yeah.
So
So,
I don't know how it gets used here. Yes, Rich.
Auxiliary accounts or benevolence accounts, which we also had at the fire department at one time. Those have to have a board to operate.
Yeah.
Like a 501(c) or some type of, and they have to have a board. And the actual city, anybody with the city can't have any say so over that.
Right, that is just on their
Whatsoever
money.
at
Absolutely. And so, with our audit and everything, our auditor Rachel, that is one thing that was discussed, these auxiliary accounts. And she did suggest that the auxiliary accounts be closed, and Sam is nodding, these auxiliary accounts to be closed and those balances to be moved to their operating general accounts. So, police auxiliary was closed, they're completely, that was funds transferred to their operating same fire. So those auxiliary accounts do no longer exist at all. So we can, in their operating funds, have line items, so if somebody donates for fireworks or something like that, that'll be added to that line item.
well, we donated $7,000 to the fireworks fund.
And yet, like I said, we just closed that account, that auxiliary account on Friday. So on the next financials, you'll see that donation in there.
That donation line item should increase.
Yes.
So whose money was in that fire auxiliary?
Who had access to?
Yeah, who had access? If it can't be managed by the city, who had access to that account?
The chiefs.
And how could he? I mean, he's part of the city.
So in 23, Spence and I talked to the auditor. And the auditor told us for donated money, set up an auxiliary account, put the donated money in there, and it was not tax money. So that's what we did.
I just don't think you can spend auxiliary money, and I think you agree with me, Rich. And Carl, you may sitting back there.
So when they had the auxiliary account set up, we had the exit meeting last year, our auditor explained. And then we have the auxiliary accounts still in play. We're in audit season. So our auditor talked to Jessica about it, and that's why she said it cannot be anything that anyone with the city, if it's gonna be called an auxiliary, it's got to be outside the boundaries of the city, no one with the city, and it's got to be set up like a corporation. Just like as a corporation, it's gotta have a board and all of that. And that's not in effect. That was not in effect at the moment, so that is why those auxiliary accounts are closed and moved to regular funds, even though those monies, was, monies, donated for specific project.
So what has that money been spent for?
For right now, it's not,
I mean,
Well,
she's got a bank statement over there. She
Oh,
can-
you have a bank statement?
Yes, I just have June, July, and August bank statements and they were just in with all of the others that I asked for. That's why we're questioning it, because we didn't even know this auxiliary account existed. And then on the financials, we have both looked to see, because about the donation that we made for fireworks, because I know when First Service Bank donated money to the police department, it was a line item. And it stated that. When, everything at Black Hills, they made a donation, and it was a line item that said Black Hills grant something. But, we're going into June, July, August, September, 4 months, and we've yet to see where the money that we donated and the citizens in this town that we, approached that donated money, it's not shown up anywhere. So it would have, it'd have been nice to have known that we have an auxiliary account, but that's where it is. I mean, I've kind of been waiting because we had 2 months of financials and we,
So once again, what was the money spent on? I know that auxiliary.
it was,
And those 2025, the 2025 bank statements for the auxiliary accounts, the auditor is going to audit them this year. So we're actually turning them into her by Wednesday of next week. So we're gonna go ahead.
so will she question these charges on here? I mean, we've got an Amazon charge, Sonic, we've got McDonald's, we've got Casey's, we've got Walmart.
She may,
You know,
but in
there's-
the statements, the chief.
What would that be, David? What would the McDonald's and Sonic, because we can't spend money on food.
So the McDonald's one, and I'll look on it, I don't wanna look for sure just off the top of my head. If it was in the last couple of months, they were in the Midway, had a training class all day, and we thought it was hard for the driving class.
Okay, I have a question about that, because the mayor has said to me a number of times, whenever we, for instance, the first year we were all here and we did the Christmas party at school, we couldn't do anything with city funds, nothing. So, that's when we did the whole meal and everything on us, because you're not supposed to use city funds for any city employee event, is what I understood it to say. Is that not correct, Mayor? That's what you, okay, so, if you're in training, then
How much was the charges to McDonald's and Sonic?
I'm still confused about 374 to Amazon, 543 to Amazon. I've got a $56 one to Sonic. I've got a $95 one to McDonald's. There's numerous Sonic ones. You know, I realize everybody gets thirsty and happy, but, you know, if we're not supposed to use those funds for purchases like that, personal employee, you know, during the day, then we need to back up, you know, Walmart, there's tons from Walmart. There's two charges, almost $600 to Big Eagle discount Midway.
That was fireworks for the giveaway.
Fireworks for what giveaway?
Every year, the fireworks gives, had a drawing before the 4th of July, give away fireworks to the families.
Is that in the budget?
So that came out of the auxiliary
It
account.
came out of donated money. That's
But
why,
it wasn't budgeted.
the auxiliary didn't have a budget. It's just donated money, whatever people donate, that's the money we spend out of.
Yeah, so, you know, and like I said, I'm just curious, you know, as to how we can use the funds out of the auxiliary account, and maybe we can't, I don't know. But if it's not,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
if it's not supposed to be, if we're not supposed to use the funds, well, now you're saying it's not city funds. It's, you know, isn't that what you just said, that it's not city funds?
Well, a true auxiliary account belongs, I guess you say, to the auxiliary. It depends on your account, on which tax ID it falls under, which is why after having Melissa and I both numerous conversations with the auditor, we thought it was under her, you know, lead, the auditor especially telling us to close those accounts, transfer the money's over, and then from here on out, I mean, the spending at auxiliary obviously is an issue because it no longer exists. But like I said, she's auditing all of 2025 auxiliary accounts that they're going to be turned into her, because we started talking to her about these auxiliary accounts, I would say maybe a couple months ago. And so it'll go through the legislative audit a year early, give or take. And that'll also be in the final report that you'll receive. But, and there are some things with auxiliary funds where, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, as far as like spending money, it would have to be to benefit or something where it's available to every citizen of the city of Clinton, and so on and so forth.
So
For
Sam,
city.
with it
If
being
they
an
have done an
auxiliary account,
auxiliary account,
Sam, with it being an auxiliary account, so technically, Chief Hannah could not be using the account. With it being named an auxiliary account and us not having, not knowing the account existed and being used for city stuff.
Candidly, I'm not understanding your question.
I'm asking if he can use an named auxiliary account.
Hold that thought. I want to go to something, if I may, I want to go to something that Rich said as our fire department institutional member. So what I'm hearing here is that this may be titled as an auxiliary account that would go to a private type of board sort of situation. But what I'm gathering is that we don't have that.
it was not set up correctly.
Yes,
Becky?
yes, it was.
Originally.
Originally.
Oh, yeah, but that one, when I came in as fire chief in '98, shortly thereafter, when I was here, that account wasn't there anymore.
I don't know why.
I don't know.
Maybe because y'all didn't have an auxiliary.
Well, that was probably it, because we didn't have an auxiliary when I had come in.
We couldn't got the 503.
And I had seen the records where y'all had done all that and where you had bought and done and built. But when I came in and they put me in as chief, that didn't exist anymore. Because we had started a benevolence fund, which falls in the same realm of, it's separate from the department and it had a board and da-da-da. back to the auxiliary, yes, for it to be an auxiliary account for donated monies to go into, somebody has to have control over that, not just one person. There has to be a board. That's like, Alicia can answer this more, that is something that has come up with the beautification committee right now on what they're trying to do or wanting to do.
Could you hold that thought a second? Because what Rick shared is the answer to your question. If the auxiliary account is properly set up under what we think about auxiliary, something outside the city controlled by another board, if that's the case, then no. It doesn't sound like it's that way. It sounds like it's an auxiliary account in name only, is what it sounds like. Obviously, there's some discussion about the history of it. If it's an auxiliary account in name only, then
So, Sam, me and Smith met with the auditor, 23. He said start an auxiliary account, put donated money in it, keep it separate from city money, and it's not tax money. And that was the premise we operated on the last 2 years. This new auditor in 25, 2 years later, is saying we can't do it that way. We had to close that account and move it off to one account. And that was the premise both us and the police operated off of.
Can I add one statement too? With it being donated, with it being funds donated from the citizens or corporations or companies or whatever, to be used for fire department. It's gotta be, because it's being donated by these people with the premise of this is what it's going to be used for, somebody has to be over that. If it's an auxiliary account by name only and not by an organization such as a 5013C, then it would have to be on the city's financials and books. It would have to be. It's gotta be one or the other. It couldn't be. So therefore, the question is,
I think Rich has answered the question. It's an account, from what I'm hearing, it's an account, it's auxiliary account in name only. I agree certainly with what the new auditor has shared.
And it's not just her, it's the previous audit as well, because they were told they need to set up as a 501c, and then that never happened.
Ultimately though, there's a whole host of things that can go wrong if we have separate auxiliary accounts. I would think in the process that if people donate things and monies and such, they want to go to the fire department and the police department, we can create a line item within our budget to
That's
address
just like the fish fry that we all worked real hard to do. We had great success. That money was specifically raised for fireworks, not the fire department.
Advertised
And advertised as such. That money was for fireworks for next year, because we had already taken care of the fireworks for this year. And that was specifically what we did as far as promoting that event was for. It
Or
was for
if you put
fireworks.
that 7,000 in there to buy Sonic and all that stuff.
We
You
earned,
know, and that's what's happened, it's gone into account that it's gone to Sonic and all that, and we can't do that when they donated that way. And they asked him to do it as a specific way. Well,
We did follow the auditor's order, accounts closed, money transferred, over $7,000 was transferred.
That $7,000 is still there.
That's great. And it was over 7,000 that we transferred funds.
So what about the charges on here, those that are not legitimate charges that we should be covering?
we're just down that,
We
basically.
won't know until the auditor reviews.
So, yeah, the auditor,
So
okay.
we spent,
Rachel.
we should not.
She'll have everything by Wednesday next week.
Okay, and that's one of my notes too. I want to be notified of the exit interview.
I did ask her about that. She stated that, auditors have to remain completely independent. They cannot allow council members, they can't even allow like Melissa to be there. It's only the city officials, like the mayor, the city clerk, and department heads.
Well, I don't believe that's correct, but I will find out for sure on that.
That's per our auditor
Okay, well,
and her supervisor as well. She did double check.
okay. We'll, because if we're gonna go back to that, then, we've got an audit that, a certified letter that we got regarding an audit, so we're gonna talk, And I do know that on this audit that we got, that was from December of 2023, which is the only one that I've ever received, we had some things that were non-compliant, so I guess
I'm
I'll.
getting compliant, I'm bringing that tonight.
And you will get another one of those, just like
Yes,
that,
you'll
in
get
your
enough,
mail at
everybody
home
will get one.
for 2024 when they complete it.
And, yeah, well, I also got a certified letter about an audit that wasn't taken care of, apparently. So,
In 23.
Do you please get me, up-to-date, updated CPR cards? Because I never received those, when all those papers were. Thank you.
Well, that's water and sewer. We've already taken care of it. We're taking care of that.
did you do the audit, or did you send a letter, or what did you do?
No, we had, we had JL, he'll be at that just a minute, yeah,
Okay,
so that, he'll explain it.
okay.
Any more questions on financials? You have the police numbers, fire department numbers. JL, your next. Water and sewer.
Oh, I got, JL, I got one, you come on, go ahead.
Come on.
Do we have a contract with the new medical director with your signature on it?
I was working on that, mentioning that today, TJ.
Sorry, I've been in contact with him, but he is a practicing doctor, he just hasn't been able to get down here yet.
I understand that.
Yeah, but
Done my
we're in
research.
contact, and I've been trying to hound him to get down here, but just, he hasn't had time.
Okay, and Sam, I'm gonna address you again, because we discussed this 2 meetings ago, that the contract is not valid with just the chief's signature on it. So we have a medical director, we have a contract signed by a medical director and the chief, but not by the mayor, as of, dating back to July 1st. And we still don't have,
So the medical director signed it, it's the
the
mayor,
medical director and, Chief Hannah,
but not the mayor.
I believe that you said that it wasn't, well, valid-ish without, that the mayor, that the chief can't sign a contract.
The mayor needs, the chief can sign, but the mayor needs to sign, the mayor has to sign. Now, there's, I don't want to get in the weeds too much on the vagaries of contract law, but it's just a better practice that the CEO of the city sign it. And I think that's what the law dictates. But there are exceptions under contract law that the appropriate person may not sign, but people can ratify it, things along those lines. But it would be better, Mayor, if you were able to sign.
Come on, JL.
As you all know, I'll be leaving in 261 days as of today. What it says on here is adding Colby Butcher to the signature cards. Our discussion with all my employees is they want Colby Butcher to take my place when I leave. The project we just started yesterday, Colby will be responsible if he takes my place for this project with auditing purposes. my goal is to start turning everything over to Kobe and Anita. That's gonna affect them when I'm gone. So with your approval, if that goes forward, I need to put Kobe on all the accounts for him to sign the checks for this project and anything else that comes around the next 261 days before I leave.
Colby, sitting back there.
I'd entertain a motion.
Does he need to, I mean, do you write checks? I mean, do you have to write out checks? Is that the reason he needs to be on the signature card? I mean, I just don't know, so.
The part of the money that we get will be ACH transfers. Your engineering fees out of that are a check that Anita writes at the office, and every check we write requires 2 signatures.
And one of them has to be one of y'all, correct?
Well, it doesn't have to be, but if we get into a situation, if the mayor's gone and Spence is gone, and that money, you have 3 days to get rid of that money. So the more signatures is not always a good thing, but on our part, if the money's not gone in 3 days, showing it's gone, then we're in trouble.
So Jessica doesn't handle your bill paying or such?
Jessica handles everything we bring to her from our departments.
So she
After we're done with it, getting the ACH payments, everything, Jessica has to get all the phone calls for the improvements and the bank ledgers and everything. Jessica keeps up with that when Anita turns it into her, but Anita and Jess talk before anything
Well, I
is
just mean
sent.
as far as signing the checks and stuff, she can't sign the checks.
Jessica usually signs a check with me. That's usually how we do those that affect water, sewer, street, and park. But I would like to turn that over to, especially for the water project, because when that audit comes through, Kobe needs to know anything about it because I will not be here. Kobe and Anita will need to know any answers for auditors, because it's a $10.5 million project. And if it goes through, we're gonna have a whole lot more than that if something comes into place.
And he's saying that he writes a check. I know, I see what you're saying. So she'll come into my office. I have the checkbook. She'll write the amount. Of course, I double check everything, JL, and then we will sign it. But while I'm doing all my stuff, she'll sit there and just all the paperwork initially comes to them. Then, of course, I maintain all the records for that, but that's what he's needing.
All the checks that are wrote in her office at her desk. On my 4 accounts, my 4 departments, sorry. There's so many checking accounts up here, but for those 4 departments.
I'll entertain a motion to add Colby Butcher to the signature cards.
It
I
needs to
have a
say,
motion to,
Wait, what does it need to say?
it has to say all accounts. Correct me if I'm right, Bert, it has to say all the accounts, because, I mean, he could sign for everything it is. I don't know if we can just say, because there's gonna be Arvest, First Service.
You sign on pretty much every,
You can sign I can
Yes.
sign anything for any department, so it's going to have to be
yes.
anything.
anything that you
Anything
sign.
that
Yeah, and then the bank requires the minutes from the meeting
Right.
with him, so it needs to be all accounts, Arvest, First Service,
And stuff.
and staff.
Okay, let's see if I can get this right. I'm gonna entertain a motion to add Colby Butcher to all of the accounts at Staff, Arvest, First Service Bank for the city of Flippin.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Have a motion to add Colby Butcher to all the bank accounts and staff, First Service, Harvest. I have a second. There's a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? It's carried. All right, Dave.
The walking bridge at the end of Second Street that got wiped out from the flood, with the RDOT money that we were gonna use for the bike trail, Trey worked with RDOT, you don't know who Trey is. Trey worked with RDOT to get those funds approved to use for this walking bridge, and part of the bike trail money that was gonna go to it. Right now, with the way the bids come in, we've got enough money to do the bridge, possibly the walking trail, but Trey didn't wanna bid out the walking trail just in case the bids came in high for the walking bridge, because that was the most important part, was getting that bridge back in for pedestrians. And we after everything came through, the lowest bid, this, you don't have to vote or anything, this has to be in the minutes, Trey has to turn this into RDOT. The lowest bid came into Ellie Davis Incorporated of Harrison, Arkansas for $170,000.60. The following bid would have been Marion County Paving, which was $26,000 higher. We had to use the low bid. I'll just say we had to use a low bid on this for Ellie Davis. And that's, I just have that in the minutes with a copy of what you have in front of you.
You explained, Councilwoman Ott brought up a letter she received, it was from the water and sewer audit. Can you bring some explanation? So since it's going to be in the minutes and so can get some clarity about that audit, so people will have some understanding that it's
We have been using Ballard for our audits
for water and sewer.
for water and sewer, I believe for the last, I've been here 15, I want to say 9 years or so. We've been using Ballard and Company out of Mountain Home. I had to fire the auditor that the previous administration was using because they weren't up to the practices that I wanted, I'd say. Hired Ballard and Company in Mountain Home, used them. Everything was fine up until 2023 when they started on the 22 audit. They had our financials and everything up until, I want to say up until sometime in 24. The owner of the company, after I signed the contract, finally got back a hold of me and told me that the lady that does our financials had lost her son in a tragic accident. I let that email response talking to the boss. He promised me I'd have, you have to forgive me when my memory was, but anyway, I fired that auditor, got all our financials back, hired a new auditor to do our 22, 23 federal audits, asked them to, we had to bid that process out, had 4 bidders on that. I asked him to do our 22, 23, 24 regular audits, and we signed a contract with them to do federal and water and sewer. And as of right now, 22 is done, it's turned into legislative audit. 23 is done, it's turned into legislative audit. We actually had legislative audit in my office last week on the phone with our auditor, and they are willing to comply with the terms that we have set in place to release the funds with no money lost to the city. They're going to allow all the interest and everything to be released. I believe the mayor might can answer, I don't know, but I figure it's any time since it's been turned in and the contracts have been signed. From what I understand from my office.
When 2024 is concluded, and then that is turned in, the same procedure as 22 and 23. But also, by that time of the first audit, it still took some time for you to retrieve that information, that you had to send a certified letter to retrieve that information to give to the new auditor. So time, there was still some lapse there. So that's that whole, procedure there, and that was the reasoning behind that.
I will take full responsibility for letting that
No responsibility to take.
I've told everybody I take responsibility for that. My kind heart got in the way of this lady, and I give her longer than I should. And
Anyone would have done that, I would have done it, anybody here in the crowd would have done that, it's just procedural stuff that caught us up, and that's the reason. You're always on time on that, that's why that we kind of got behind on that.
we do
I
have,
explained to a rep of the municipal league when I was in Little Rock, so I just wanted some explanation since it was brought up from this government.
we do have the results of 22 and 23 in hand. Just an email confirmation that there was no findings of wrongdoing.
Well, it's just you know, when you get a letter, a certified letter in the mail that says that we're not gonna get turned back money or possibility, and, and we had no other information that's given to us, so
You can imagine how I felt when I seen it.
I'm sure.
Any other questions for Jay? Thank you, Jay. As I said a moment ago, I do have a financial and compliance report. It was an oversight on my part from December 31st, 2023. All the council received this report as well. There were some things in this report, I think one, non-compliance, and since that, under deputy clerk, city clerk, and since that time as this report came out, there was a plan of action that was given to the auditor, and I will read this, that was given to the auditor, and the compliance was okay. Cash receipts and disbursements journals not properly classified, posted, reconciled, bank deposits and withdrawal, non-compliance, Arkansas Code, annotated 1459, 108, 110, 111. A similar finding was noted in the prior three reports dating back to 2018. The report is intended solely for the information used to the Legislative Joint Audit Committee, local city government, state executive, and oversight management of the parties as required by Arkansas Code, and is not intended to be and should not be used by anyone other than these specified parties. However, pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 104417, all reports presented to the Legislative Joint Auditing Committee are matters of public record, and distribution is not limited by Kevin William White, CPA JD of Legislative Audit. Any questions from any of the council? One more thing that I have, just to, Kim has posted it on our city web, Facebook rather. I'll get it on the marquee as well. Our fall cleanup is October the 3rd. So I'm hoping everybody will take advantage of that time. We have 2 years, spring and fall. So this one is October the 3rd. At least try to have it out. Everybody, the citizens, get it out now, but at least have it out the night before on the 2nd. So the sanitation department can have it all picked up. Any other new business from the governing board?
I'd like to address the ordinance 147 again. I've addressed it 2 or 3 other times. The quarter-cent sales tax, the ordinance 147, was passed on August the 3rd, 1993. This ordinance designates how the quarter-cent sales tax for the volunteer fire department was to be spent. This ordinance 147 states that the 1/4 cent sales tax was to be spent for equipment and maintenance, not salaries.
Do you have the ordinance?
I do.
Because I even looked upstairs and looked.
Also, back in 2012, it was found that they were then paying salaries with the sales tax money. And back in 2012, the council addressed this and had to pay back money. The general account had to pay back money in 2012 for the same reason that this ordinance is not followed today. So Sam, what do we do? Because this ordinance is a law, from what I understand, this ordinance is a law and we're not following it.
Can I say it?
We want to say.
Let me take a look at that one.
Find that in our office.
Yeah, Kim help me find it.
Okay.
Oh, Sam's looking over this, can I ask you a question? 2 meetings ago, this came up, and I asked, because we've been battling with this for 20 years. And in 2012, when they had to start paying salaries back to the fire department, that was when I was asked to come back as fire chief. 2 meetings ago, Mayor, you said you were gonna put together a committee to look at this and review this and try to figure something out. Have we not?
Well, what I did say, Rich, is I wanted to try to look for the ordinance, and I've been looking for it in our office, and I even went upstairs, and I did not come across the ordinance.
It is right there. Kim was with me the day I found it. and
Well, I believe you, it's right here, Miss Howard, but I'm trying to explain to Rich. He asked me a question, and I'm explaining to him.
It's sitting there.
I'm explaining to him.
She has the file on her computer.
If I can interject, I think I can answer both questions. I'd like to answer both questions. So, we passed an ordinance in 1993 that says X. If we haven't changed that ordinance in how things are to be distributed, then that's how things are to be distributed.
Right.
That's it.
We talked about that last time. And I think it was in May because we didn't really have a council meeting last month, so it's been going on for a while.
So, I mean, that's the issue, is we passed an ordinance in 93 that says X, and that ordinance should be complied with. Rich shared, there was an ordinance in 2012. How that gets addressed is, well, be a difficult question. Because at the end of the day, do you go back to 93? Or do you go to whenever things started to run afoul and then work your way back? There has to be a start. We gotta figure out where things went south.
Well, we know in 2012, the same issue was brought before the council, and they had to start paying the money back then. And I think, Heath, you were there on the council at that time, knowing that they were paying the money back. So in 2012, they were actively paying that back, and when they paid it off, I did not know.
We paid, I don't know the data, we have to go back and, Mayor Marbury, was in C. And we paid the last payment to the fire department, we paid that off. We'll have to go back and look at the minutes when that last was paid, and then that would be the last that was reconciled at that particular time.
So until the 93 ordinance has changed, then that's the rules we operate under. And again, going to what Chris shared, it's been full of good information tonight. I vaguely remember there being some discussion about where we look going forward in 26. If this ordinance stays in place in its current form, modified in some way, or what have you. And there's some value in having that discussion, because again, these aren't suggestions we pass, these ordinances.
Which
And
are
follow
law
along.
past the time.
Basically.
They did.
Well, basically it is.
It is a law
So,
that needs to be followed.
Rich, when did you leave?
When I left in December of 2015, fire department salaries were being paid out of city general because of that.
Right.
I don't know when they switched it back,
That's Carl, that's.
but as of December of 15, that can be a starting point. When I left, they were being paid out of city general. Now, my other thing is, there's 2 quarter-cent sales tax right now, right? So this pertains to the first one.
Right.
Correct.
Was, out of curiosity, how was the second one set up?
It was.
Hannah, is it just an open
Yeah, it was strictly,
general?
it was strictly, that's strictly, yes. Yeah.
Right.
For the 1 to 5, that was just,
There's nothing in
And
it. Fire court.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
Now, I said I was gonna stay out of this. And I'm gonna start by saying I love the Flippin Fire Department with all my heart. If it wasn't them, I wouldn't be alive today. So this has nothing to do with a witch hunt or anything like that. I was one of the sponsors of this ordinance along with Rudy Johnson And it was set up with no doubt for fire department. There's supposed to be, and I believe $500 a month put in a fund for new fire trucks. And also my understanding is, now he's the legal guy, but my understanding is to change this, it would take a vote of the people. At least it would at county level. We went door to door. The tax had little chance of passing back then. And we went door to door and practically begged the people to pass this so we would have money for the department. And I can clear that much up for you, and then y'all do whatever.
So as to what Sheriff McNeese said, as Councilman Howard, as to what you have and presented, a vote of the council would change that. What I'd asked for a couple months ago, when you first brought this to our attention, was what the ballot title was that the people voted on. If the ballot title reads as that ordinance, then yes, a vote of the people would take a vote of the people to change it. I just say out loud, I don't know why we can't find that ballot title. I mean, I don't know why we can't find it. But that would be enormously helpful.
Well, but Sam, let me ask you this, since they've already had to pay it back once, knowing that it was being used wrong to begin with, do we not assume that that's what should have been done all along?
I mean, that's.
The funds go into the appropriate accounts and not into payroll.
Okay, so you went a different direction at the end of your question than I anticipated you go.
I tried.
With regard, and again, let's put this in two scenarios. If the people voted on the language as Councilman Howard has, we have a massive problem, massive. If they didn't, then it's however the group chooses to address it going forward.
But I don't believe that's what Carl just said.
That's what I thought he said.
Did he not say that that's exactly what it was intended for, Carl, was equipment and fire trucks?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So.
We didn't even get run money back then.
Yeah.
But
They didn't get run money back then, is what Carl said. They didn't get run money.
But to necessarily put a finer point on it, if a governmental entity campaigns, comes out and has advertising that says, if you pass this, it's gonna go to X. But the ballot title says something, just vote for a 1/4%. Well, then that's what controls. It's what the ballot title says.
Okay, I was here when, unfortunately, I'm that old, that I was here when the sales tax went into play. Just like the sheriff said, that it was passed for operations and maintenance. They come along, the council, and did the fire truck building fund.
Let me ask this, let me interject. When do you recall the vote taking place to pass the tax?
When did it take place?
When did they pass
When
the
did the
tax?
election take place?
In 94, 93, 94,
93.
93, because I started here in 94, and I noticed that I signed all of the sales tax stuff as the recorder.
So this ordinance to, in essence, divvy the sales tax was passed in August of 93. So the election would have to be before that.
Right. They had 2 elections. It failed the first time, remember, didn't it, Carl?
I can't remember.
It failed the first time, and they come along and they did it again, and that's when it passed.
Here's the minutes from the meeting in '93.
I read out those, but they weren't.
It says on there how it was to be spent.
But again, it's the ballot title. That's the issue.
Don't we have an ordinance supporting what the ballot title said? Is this ordinance not?
No.
It could be.
And so, and let me just say, with regard to sales taxes, the Arkansas Supreme Court has been clear for 175 years. If the people vote on a tax, however the tax is conveyed to them is what controls. It is the common practice of sales tax practitioners to only have a dedicated tax for a capital improvement type project, water, sewer, jail, things like that. For regular operating money, it would be highly unusual to put to the people as specific an ordinance as the council passed. Not saying it couldn't have happened, just giving what 9.5 out of 10 happens over litigation over sales taxes. So that's why finding that ballot title is important, because the ballot title will be different. Again, 9.5 times out of 10, the ballot title will be different than the ordinance that implements the money.
So if the ballot title is different, we still have an ordinance saying how it's supposed to be spent.
Correct.
Is that not a law? The ordinance, is that not a law on how
Correct.
it's to be spent?
And if it hasn't been modified, then no other rules.
So the last you had was 2012, that said, and it hadn't been modified in 2012, so.
Obviously, it hadn't been since 15 when Reese was here, so.
2012 is when they have to pay that back, and it says that in the minutes.
Keith, do you remember how much I had to pay back?
I thought it was 500.
I thought it was
I
500.
think it was 500 a month that we had to pay back, and then at the very end, the money that we had, I can't remember the amount that we paid in a lump sum. Now, from that moment, after we paid that off, I don't know,
So
I
when
can't
it
remember.
started going astray, it is.
I can't remember. And that's what we.
How in the world will you find that?
In the minutes. We need to go back and look at, in the minutes, when we paid that last payment, and see if there is any verbiage in those minutes, anything moving forward, of taking action of moving forward, any directive. Because I sure can't remember.
So what does your 2012 thing say, minutes?
Says fire department salaries cannot be paid out of fire department budget, and at this time, the fire department will be operated by volunteer status like in previous years. Alderman Hudson made a motion to pay the volunteers out of the general fund, with a second by Alderman Hopper, and motion approved with all voting. Roger Morgan stated that by amending the budget, this means the city will no longer pay a fire chief and assistant fire chief.
Has there been anything done since that time?
Talking
Has there
about,
been any changes to that since that time that you know of?
now, is this, from that, I do not, well, from 2012, yeah, there had to be. We've got to go, we have to go from here, we have to go from here to loop and go in and pick up from here.
So, at that, I guess the question, and because I'm not very smart on this, at the point where you paid it back, then was the sales tax going back into city general? Where was it going at that?
That I cannot recollect, and that would be the other question. So that because at that particular time of not knowing of that fourth of the sales tax, so that fourth of the sales tax would have to come from general anyway.
Right. I mean, I just remember back in the day, and Rick, you may too, and Sheriff back there may also, at the time we got the sales tax, the 4% sales tax. At that point, they would automatically, we would do transfers, kind of like you do right now. You would take $500, go straight to the building fund, you would take $1,500 and go to the fire truck fund. And then somewhere along the road, that stopped, obviously. So we're not fulfilling that ordinance by doing that at all.
See, all the way up through 2015, when I left December of 15, when the city got their sales tax check, the quarter cent that went to the fire department was written to the fire department general fund, and then a check was written out of there, $1,500 to the fire truck fund, and $500 for the building.
That's
That
how it
was as of
was.
December of 15, whatever happened after that. And at that time, salaries, my salary was being paid out of city general, not fire department. So,
So we know in 15 it was still that way. So you've got 10 years, somewhere in the last 10 years it changed.
Or they quit doing it.
Yeah, they quit doing it that way somewhere in the last 10 years.
Well, part of that 10 years, part of that 10 years is when that we ended up paying that back under Mayor Palmer.
Right.
So we have to go, we need to go back from when we pay that off. That's gonna be a starting date that we're gonna have to look. So
But it's obvious it's not being complied with.
Do what?
I mean, it's my understanding it's not being complied with now.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it got to go, that's where the starting point is going to be, the time in the minutes that we paid it off from that point until that.
As far as the arrears goes, but go forward, yeah.
They probably need to start now, doing it now, and not continue the same problem.
Rich, I have a question for you. Go ahead, after, go ahead, you go.
I agree with what the mayor's saying about any amendments that might have been made during this and the starting point when it was paid off. But we also need to look through the financial stuff to see at what point they started paying out of fire department general. Because as of December of 15, it was being paid out of city general. And then now, isn't it paid out of fire general?
Yes.
Fire department?
Yeah, it's out of
So at
fire.
what point did that start again? Did it start before the other one was completely paid off or after, or
I believe for it.
before? And see, I'm just worried because this is 20 years, we've been fighting this for 20 years. And it puts the department in a big predicament every time, and the city. I mean, even last time when the city had to pay, I mean, that's.
Look what that amount's gonna be.
Do what, Mayor Jim?
Look how big that amount's gonna be if we have to go back 10 years or something. A tremendous amount.
The ordinance says it, and it's still in play, we'll have to. Well, we've got some homework to do.
I know. Joe, at the time I was here, and I think Jody, when she was here, we used to have a big number in the fire truck fund. Did we buy new fire trucks? Where did all that money go?
It would, well, I can't speak, when y'all were here and I was here, it would rotate through. Yeah, we built the white truck, we built the black truck, we used funds and some other stuff to help with that. But then we bought the tanker, engine tanker. I think you were still here when we did that.
I think so.
And then when I left in December of 15, we had the money. It all wasn't from the fire truck fund, but between fire truck fund and reallocating some other funds. At that time, I had it set up, we were ready to buy another truck and write a check for it. Now, whatever happened right after that, I don't know, because the truck didn't get bought and then we financed the truck. So I don't know where the funds went after that.
JD, does the ISO, is it still affected by whether you have a new fire truck every 10 years like it used to be?
I believe so, our notes from in 2017.
I have a thought on the tax mayor before we end up on this topic. I have a thought on this tax that might solve our issue. The old minutes, this is needle in the haystack stuff, but logic would say from 92 to August of 93, January of 92 to August of 93. Problem, to go through those months' minutes, if we can find those, there should be a discussion of the ordinance, ballot title, things along those lines, to vote on the tax. My guess is we probably voted on it in 93. General election in 92, we didn't vote on taxes, we were trying to vote on taxes during general elections. So, a 93 vote, maybe it's 93 we should look at. Maybe.
Around May?
If we could find the,
Around May?
yeah, probably. Because back in the day, you couldn't have a sales tax collection, but you could do it about any other month. So the January through May meetings, minutes, things along those lines. If we can find those, that might unlock what we need to figure out.
They would get expedited that since we've been dragging on so long.
Well,
Start looking.
where do we find the minutes? But as far as ordinance goes, I mean, that ordinance is the ordinance that we follow.
So, don't you think you need to start doing the ordinance now to keep it from getting worse?
Absolutely.
I think we discussed that a few months ago as well. About putting that money into.
So, Jessica, you'll have to figure that out.
And I get copies of those too. And when it was asked a minute ago about the fire department fund, like what those funds are used for, there is a fire truck payment that goes from out of that fire truck fund every month. I'm sure. There's that. 978 and change.
That comes out of the fire truck fund
Yes.
to pay that payment.
Yes.
All right, anything else?
I have one thing that I need to ask Jess. Oh, I'm sorry, TJ.
Oh, no, you're fine, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, mine was, we had that workshop for ordinance that we're trying to get building inspection stuff. If possible, we got that rework done for the people that helped us with that, for the people that were here. If we could get that back to you within like the next week or two, because we can workshop before next city council, like 30 minutes to see if you guys like the ordinance itself and stuff, so we can pass it within next council.
Is this the stuff that you guys over?
No, this would be, stuff you got from firefighter Neil probably 4 or 5 months ago, but we did have a workshop once and we reworked it, and then you'll be getting another copy probably next week sometime, and see if we can get it in before our next city council meeting.
I just have a question for Jessica on the lot fee that Susan discussed before she left. I've noticed that CD is still there, that money has not been paid, the lot fee.
So I recently spoke with Esther and another lady from Walkie, maybe about 2 weeks ago. So we are gonna have to go back, and you know, Susan did work go back for years. After speaking with them, we're gonna go back and see exactly what needs to be paid on.
She went back to 2017.
Yeah, she went back to 7
Yes.
years. But Walkie and I, we've discussed that, I said just a week or two ago. And that's a process that we're gonna start. It's gonna take time, but yeah, that's not falling through the cracks. I literally just had a conversation with them about this.
It's been going on for a long time, and it needs to be taken care of.
Yes.
We need to get that paid, and
And that's going back and reporting,
well, I know that she had the numbers.
she had a large folder, yes. But after speaking with Esther, there's quite a bit more information they're gonna need, and we're gonna have to go through, and they're aware that we're gonna work on that together.
I appreciate what TJ had to share about the building inspections and such. And not knowing the pace of things, I'll just let a marker down. When we make big decisions on structural issues in the city, building codes, things along those lines, I would very much prefer that we read these over 3 consecutive months. One day, we're gonna pass something either in the city or the county or whoever on an emergency clause that's in place. And again, I realize there's been a lot of work put in on this, and I certainly don't want to slow down progress. But on these bigger things, I would encourage the group. We read them once, 3 months, distribute them. You know, we may have these meetings, folks may not show up, that's fine. But I sleep better at night when we don't pass things on emergency clauses.
Anything else?
I actually want to correct something. I said we'll work on that together. That's something I'll be working on under the advice of Lottie. So as I go through and, you know, what needs to be reported or such, I'll reach out to them and give me advice on that. And then, so it'll be a long process to get that done. But they do know that, it's something I want to start getting accomplished.
I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry, JL.
I forgot to tell you that the asphalt is gonna be redone from the freeway to between Arvest and the car wash is gonna start within 2 weeks. That's a $300,000 grant through RDOT that we receive every 3 years. They went over budget last year, so they're doing ours this year, so we can apply for that when they get done. But they told me the other day to let everybody know that it's gonna be really dusty and a lot of traffic problems because they're gonna start edges and everything. And they don't know how long it will take, but it's gonna be a heck of a project from there to Harvest Bank, and they just wanted the town to be aware of it. He said within 2 weeks it'll start.
Thank you. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second. All in favor?
Uh,
We adjourn. Thank you.
See you. Hi, gang.
didn't get me on recording, did you?
Yes, it is.
Wait.
It's still recording. Go ahead. Here, I'll help you out.